After 12 months of silence, she revealed an amazing secret that changed their love forever. The sound of laughter and joy swept through the warm summer air, wrapping itself around Sarah like a comforting blanket. But inside, her heart felt heavy, weighed down by a secret that had grown as vast as the night sky. It was the town fair, a celebration of community pride and togetherness, yet Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of isolation that seeped into her bones. She watched families mingle, sharing smiles and kisses, and her heart ached for the warmth she once had. Memories of her husband, Dan, filled her thoughts, a vibrant man shattered by battles unseen, a loving father slowly drifting away. The moment felt surreal. Little Ethan, with his mop of curly hair and infectious laughter, tugged at her hand, eager to explore the fairgrounds. "Can we ride the Ferris wheel, Mom?" His eyes sparkled like stars, and she couldn't say no, even as the familiar pang of longing twisted inside her. The last time they had been together as a family, joy fell like confetti from the sky. Now it felt like they were merely ghosts of what they once were. As the sun dipped low, painting the horizon orange and purple, Sarah steeled herself. Today marked the anniversary of their marriage. A bittersweet reminder of what was lost. Waves of regret crashed over her. How many more moments would they spend adrift in silence? The tension crackled between her and Dan, who stood off to the side, lost in thought, shadows darkening his features. Her heart raced with regret for their fractured connection. "Isn't it beautiful?" Ethan said, pointing to the vibrant fireworks beginning to burst above them. His innocence pierced through Sarah's wall of worry, a gentle reminder of what really mattered. It was time to confront the unspoken truth that lingered between her and Dan, the silence that gnawed at their hearts. Just as the first firework shot through the sky like a shooting star, Sarah gathered her courage. This wasn't just a fair, it was a moment of renewal, of hope. "Dan, can we talk?" she asked. Her voice shaky yet resolute. But just before he could reply, a familiar face from her past emerged from the crowd. A face that resurrected old feelings, buried emotions, and fears long tucked away. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Memories rushed back, all the dreams, the laughter, the moments they had shared as young lovers before everything changed. The community around them buzzed, unknowing of the storm brewing in her heart. Amidst the vibrant colors of the fair and the joyful cries of children, Sarah felt utterly paralyzed. As fireworks exploded overhead, illuminating the sky, she stood at the precipice of confession, heart hammering like a drum, a choice between laying bare her secret or retreating into the silence that had suffocated her spirit. Would unveiling her truth mend their frayed edges? Or would it plunge them deeper into despair? All she knew was that something had to change or they could drift farther apart, forever lost in silence. The familiar figure moved closer, and with every step, memories crashed into Sarah like waves. It was Rachel, her best friend from high school, the one who had left town years ago. The vibrant blue of Rachel's dress seemed to echo the youthful spirit Sarah once had, burying her in nostalgia. "Sarah." Rachel's voice pierced through the evening air, warm and inviting. The smile that spread across her face tugged at Sarah's heart. "I can't believe it's you." For a moment, the surrounding noise of the fair faded into a soft hum. Rachel's presence was a reminder of simpler times, a time when laughter filled the air and secrets hadn't yet created rifts in relationships. The sight of her friend also reignited lingering questions and emotions that Sarah had buried deep. "Rachel." Sarah managed a smile, embracing her friend tightly. "It's been so long." But as the embrace ended, reality came rushing back. Dan's eyes drifted toward her, concern etched into his brow. The weight of the unsaid hung heavily in the air, a tension thick enough to slice through. Sarah's heart raced again, caught between reuniting with an old friend and confronting the truth that was long overdue with her husband. "Are you here for the fair?" Rachel asked, blissfully unaware of the turmoil inside. Yes. Just browsing." Sarah's voice faltered. She glanced at Ethan, who was mesmerized by the fireworks, still wrapped up in innocence. "So, how is life treating you?" Rachel continued, her eyes scanning Sarah's face. "You look different." Different. A word that stung just enough to make Sarah shift uncomfortably. "Yeah, things have changed." Before Rachel could probe deeper, Dan stepped forward, his presence grounding yet somehow distant. "Hey, I'm Dan." He extended a hand, which Rachel took with a smile. The air shifted again. "Nice to meet you." Rachel replied, her eyes fluttering between the two of them, trying to read the tension. "I heard you guys had a little one." "Yes. Ethan, there he is." Dan motioned toward the boy who was now at the foot of the Ferris wheel, eyes wide and sparkling. "Mom. Can we go?" he called out, his voice bright with excitement. The sight of Ethan sparked something in Sarah, a desire to create joy in the family she still believed could heal. But the distance between her and Dan felt like a chasm now. Layered beneath the joy of the fair, a heaviness lingered. How could she reconcile the past with the present? Rachel must have noticed the shift in Sarah's demeanor. "Are you all right?" she asked softly, her voice filled with genuine concern. Taking a deep breath, Sarah realized that now was not just about celebrating without pain, it was the chance to finally reveal the truth she had hidden for so long. "Actually, there's something I need to tell you both." The words bubbled up inside her, ready to spill over. Was it time to share the secret, the thing that had caused their silence? Her heart pounded furiously as she weighed the consequences. But before she could continue, another explosion of color lit the sky, drowning her out. Each firework blasted forth like a countdown, marking the moments slipping through her fingers. They were short, bright bursts of life against the night, just like her fading confidence. "Sarah?" Rachel prompted gently, her eyes narrowing, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Sarah took a step forward, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. Just then, another spark of chaos erupted from nearby, the shriek of laughter echoed, and she paused. How could her revelation impact the happiness swirling around them? Would this reveal tear her family apart or stitch it back together? As the last firework flickered, she could feel the eyes of both Dan and Rachel on her, questions hanging in the air. What would happen if she laid her heart bare? The fear was suffocating yet exhilarating. "I can't hold this any longer," she finally whispered, half terrified and half ready to ignite change. Was this the moment she had been waiting for, or a reckless leap into the unknown? As their eyes widened, she realized she was on the brink of something life-altering. Something was about to unfold that would change everything. And in that moment, she heard Ethan laughing, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just moments away. "Mom," he called out. "Can we go already?" "Ethan, wait." But it was too late. She could no longer avoid the truth. Sarah felt her heart race, each beat echoing the chaos of fireworks echoing in the background. The noise of laughter and music from families enjoying the fair contrasted sharp with what she was about to say. There, in the midst of celebration, her entire world felt on the edge of transformation. She cleared her throat, trying to remember the strength she once had. "I need to tell you both," but the words evaded her, trapped behind the weight of her silence, her fears. Rachel's brow furrowed in concern. "Sarah, you're scaring me." "What's wrong?" Dan crossed his arms, his posture reflecting both confusion and concern. She could see the questions swirling in his eyes, wondering what had shifted in the moment, why she looked like she was struggling to breathe. Ethan stood nearby, oblivious to the tension as he bounced on his heels, eager for adventure. "Mom. Can we please go on the Ferris wheel?" His voice rang with innocent enthusiasm, the very thing Sarah wanted to protect. "Just a minute, honey," she murmured, half listening as she focused on Rachel and Dan. The weight of her truth felt like a boulder in her chest, and then it happened. As Rachel reached out, placing a comforting hand on Sarah's arm, the touch sparked a flood of memories. Days spent laughing until their sides hurt, nights sharing secrets under stars, all those moments tinted with whispers of betrayal. They had once stood together, two girls with dreams that climbed higher than the tallest Ferris wheel. "Whatever it is, you can tell us," Rachel assured, her eyes softening. The warmth in her expression was a lifeline, and for a moment, Sarah thought she could reach out and pull that strength into herself. Taking another deep breath, Sarah glanced at Dan, whose expression changed as he met her gaze. Perhaps he sensed that whatever she was scared to reveal would affect him too, somehow tying their futures together. "I've been hiding something," she finally blurted out, the words rushing out like water from a dam. The truth had to flow, she could no longer hold it back. Both Rachel and Dan leaned in closer. The faces of her best friend and her husband blurred together in that heightened moment, but they both stared intently, waiting for her to continue. "It's about Ethan." Sarah's voice wavered. "He is not Dan's biological son." The silence that followed was deafening. It fell around them like a dense fog, every emotion silenced in an instant. Sarah's stomach twisted painfully as reality settled into the air. Rachel's hand slipped away, her expression morphing from concern to shock. Dan's eyes widened, disbelief overtaking his features. "What are you saying?" he asked almost in a whisper, searching her gaze for clarity. "It was a mistake, a moment I thought I could control. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." As her voice cracked, the unspoken pain tumbled out. "I loved you, Dan. I still do. But it was during a confusing time before we were really us." Rachel shook her head, scrambling for understanding, while Dan stood frozen, grappling with the enormity of her words. The fireworks continued to paint the night sky, yet here, everything felt monochrome. "Are you serious right now?" Dan finally managed. His brow furrowed deeply, hurt and confusion weaving into the fabric of his expression. "Please, just listen," she said, desperation seeping into her words. "I thought it was for the best to hide it, but Ethan deserves to know his real story." Ethan's laughter faded into the background, as the darkness of their reality took precedence. What did this revelation mean for them? For their family? Tension crackled in the air as Ethan still waited. Sarah longed to protect him from the fallout but knew she was about to change everything. "Do you think we can forgive each other?" she asked quietly, hope mingling with fear. But before anyone could respond, a sudden rush of voices filled the air as a nearby ride malfunctioned, a cacophony that jolted Sarah back to the moment. Dan stepped back, his face unreadable, and within seconds, everything felt fragile, as if the world had tipped precariously. What were the choices ahead? Could this unravel everything, or could it be a chance to build anew? In that moment, Sarah's heart beat wildly, and she felt the end of uncertainty beckoning. Decisions loomed ahead, heavy as they draped over her shoulders. "Mom, what's wrong?" Ethan asked, his innocent eyes darting between the three of them, sensing the shift like a storm gathering at sea. In a moment destined to ripple through the years, they stood at the edge of change, and Sarah knew this was only the beginning. Would their truth lead to greater love, or tear them apart forever? The chaos of the fair faded into the background, but the stillness between Sarah, Dan, and Rachel felt louder than any firework. Sarah's heart raced, and the weight of her words hung heavily in the air. Ethan's innocent gaze shifted from one adult to another, confusion clouding his bright expression. "Mom?" Ethan said again, his voice breaking through the tension like a soft breeze. It pulled Sarah back to the moment, the weight of her truth crashing against her resolve. She looked down into his eyes so full of trust, so eager to embrace life, and it sent a wave of despair washing over her. "Ethan," Rachel finally broke the silence, her voice gentle yet firm. "Why don't you go ride the Ferris wheel with your friend? We will catch up with you in a moment, okay?" He hesitated, glancing between the three of them, his brow knitted in concern. "But I want to stay with you guys just for a little while," Sarah insisted, forcing a smile that felt like shards of glass in her cheeks. "It will be okay. I promise." Ethan, still unsure, bobbed his head slightly before turning away, skipping toward the glowing Ferris wheel, his small body swallowed by the crowd. As soon as he dashed off, reality hit Sarah like a punch in the gut. She turned back to Rachel and Dan, who stared at her as if she were a puzzle piece they couldn't seem to fit. "Why?" Rachel stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "Why now, Sarah?" Tears pricked the corners of Sarah's eyes, and she fought to keep them at bay. "I didn't want to keep this secret from you. I thought I could handle it. I thought it would be easier." She trailed off, struggling to bridge the chasm of unspoken emotions lying between them. Dan's expression morphed from confusion to hurt. "Easier? What about Ethan? He deserves to know where he comes from. How could you keep this from me, from us?" The accusation stung. "I was afraid, Dan. Afraid of what it would mean for our family. I thought I could protect him, protect you both. It was never meant to be a lie." Rachel stepped forward, her voice shaking. "But it is a lie, Sarah. And lies have a way of unraveling, no matter how tightly we hold on." Sarah blinked at Rachel, stunned. Their friendship had always been a safe harbor, built on trust and open conversation. But now, it felt like a fragile shell ready to crack. "Do you really believe that?" she whispered, searching Rachel's gaze for understanding. "I don't know what to believe anymore," Rachel replied, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. "This changes everything. Ethan's reality, your marriage, it's like we're standing on quicksand. I didn't want to hurt you, or him, or destroy the life we built," Sarah said, her throat tightening. "I just couldn't." Dan stepped closer, his voice lower, more personal. "Don't you see? This was never yours to decide alone. We're all in this together. I thought that's what family meant: trust, honesty." "You're right. I was selfish," she admitted, her heart aching under the weight of their stares. "I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted to protect what's sacred, and I thought that meant keeping this secret." A flicker of anger flashed in Dan's eyes, but it quickly faded, replaced with resignation. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. It felt like the world had come crashing down. The weight of her regret bore down on Sarah like an anchor, dragging her deeper into despair. What if this truth pulled them apart? What if their family didn't survive this revelation? "Can we figure this out?" she asked softly, her voice cracking under the strain of uncertainty. "Can we start fresh? Can we?" But just as she began to find hope in the possibility of rebuilding, a distant crash echoed through the fair, drawing their attention back to the chaotic atmosphere surrounding them. The ride malfunction was but a flickering shadow of the true turmoil they faced, and in that moment, she realized their struggles mirrored the chaos around them. As the fair lights danced in the night sky, Sarah's thoughts whirled like the sparks above. Could they rebuild trust from this shattered foundation? Would love be enough to mend the broken pieces? "Maybe we need time," Rachel finally suggested, her tone softer now. A glimmer of understanding seemed to flicker in her eyes. "To breathe and think about how we move forward." But how could they carve a way through the storm ahead? What would tomorrow hold when the light was replaced by darkness? "Tomorrow," Sarah echoed, the word fragile on her lips, afraid of what dawn would bring. As they stood in that moment, teetering on the brink of uncertainty, one question swirled in her mind: could they emerge from the wreckage stronger, or would this be the beginning of the end? Would they have the strength to face the truth, whatever shape it might take? The laughter and music of the fair continued to roll like waves, but for Sarah, the echoes felt distant and hollow. She stood amidst the chaos, yet her world felt achingly still, as if she were caught in a moment of suspended disbelief. Rachel's words lingered in the air, each syllable a pinprick against her heart. "Maybe we need time." Time. It was one thing she feared: they didn't have time to heal the wounds she had inadvertently caused, time before Ethan's innocent curiosity dragged the truth from its shadows into the light. She turned to Dan, his expression a storm of hurt and confusion. The love they once shared felt buried under layers of unspoken regret. "What if we don't have the luxury of time?" she whispered, more to herself than to him. Dan's silence echoed back at her, thick and unbearable. He looked away, the glare from the fairground lights reflecting off his face, illuminating the pain that seemed to wrap around him like dark vines. "Sarah." I don't even know how to feel right now, he finally said, his voice low. You've thrown everything into question. My trust, our family, our future. Each word felt like a stone dropped into a deep well, resonating with an unshakable weight. I know, she said, her breath hitching. It's just I was scared. The fear of losing everything made me cling to this secret instead of facing it. But even as she said it, a part of her wondered if there was a deeper truth behind her fear. What if revealing the secret meant more than just risking their family? What if it opened old wounds for Dan, wounds she wasn't sure he had healed? Rachel, standing a few paces back, observed them quietly. The gentle light from a nearby booth framed her silhouette. You need to open up, Sarah, she urged, her eyes dancing between the two. We can't navigate this anymore without honesty. It's not fair to Ethan. Every heartbeat felt like an eternity as Sarah wrestled with her thoughts. I thought I was doing the right thing, she murmured, feeling utterly lost. The distant screams from the Ferris wheel intertwined with her emotions, a reminder of the chaos brewing just beyond their small circle of confrontation. It sent an unsettling shiver down her spine. What if Dan paused, his gaze hardening as a new wave of determination washed over him? What if we sat Ethan down, together? We can't let him grow up in the dark, Sarah. He deserves to know. But only if we're ready. Only if we can face it together. Together. The word felt foreign yet comforting, like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Could they really face this storm collectively? Are we ready for that? Rachel asked, looking to Dan for his answer. Dan hesitated, then nodded slowly. We have to be. We can't keep pretending. It's too much for him, and it's too much for us. There was a spark of hope in his voice, and for the first time that night, Sarah felt it flicker to life within her too, but fear surged. What if they opened that door and couldn't close it again? What if their family would shatter instead of unify? We haven't even told him about Sarah's voice faltered, the enormity of the truth hitting her hard. What happens if it destroys him? Rachel took a step closer, her expression softening. Then we'll be there for him. Together. You've done the hardest part by telling us the truth, but the real work starts now. For Ethan. For us. Sarah swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility raining heavy on her shoulders. Could she do this? Could they do this? Just then, a bright burst of fireworks lit up the sky, casting colorful shadows on the faces around them. Their reflection danced in each other's eyes, a reminder of the love they had shared. The brightness swept across the chaos, igniting a fleeting moment of clarity. Okay, Sarah breathed, her voice steadier now. We'll tell him. But we need to promise each other that we'll be open. That whatever comes next, we face it as a family. Agreed, Dan said slowly, his tone unwavering. Rachel nodded, her resolve shining through the uncertainty. Yes. No more lies. Just the truth. As the echoes of laughter and celebration filled the air once again, Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle in a precarious balance of hope and fear. She could sense the gravity of what lay ahead, and in that pivotal moment, she realized they were standing at the edge of a new beginning, or an ending they couldn't foresee. Yet as they stood beneath the night sky, a whirl of confusion, excitement, and dread mingled in the air. What if Ethan doesn't understand? Sarah voiced her dread, her voice trembling with the enormity of what was to come. With the fireworks still blazing, the truth that loomed ahead felt like a spark threatening to ignite their fragile peace. Would they find a way through the storm, or would this moment unravel everything they held dear? Sarah's heart raced as she watched the last firework blossom and fade into the night sky. She could feel the weight of her decision pressing down, as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for her next move. Glancing at Dan, she searched for his reassurance, but the turmoil in his eyes mirrored her own fears. What if he reacts badly, she asked, not understanding how this question had slipped past her lips until the words hung heavy in the space between them. This wasn't just about a secret, this was about their son. About the innocence they had worked so hard to protect. Rachel, still close, placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. We won't know until we try, Sarah. Hiding the truth only burdens him more in the long run. But you'll have to be strong for all of you. Dan turned to face her, leaning in a little closer. Ethan loves you. He stopped just because of this. His voice softened, but there was steel behind the gentleness. Children are more resilient than we give them credit for. We just have to be there for him. The sounds of the fair felt like a distant party, echoing in the backdrop of their heavy moment. Young voices were filled with laughter, shrieks of joy, and the hypnotic call of carnival games. Yet here, in their small circle of emotion and uncertainty, a different kind of silence prevailed. It was just a decision away, but the idea of telling Ethan about her past, the things she thought were long buried, made the pit in Sarah's stomach twist painfully. With each passing moment, the truth grew heavier, just like every flicker of light in the sky that had reminded her of the joy they once had. What if telling him is what shatters us? Sarah's voice trembled, the vulnerability of her words a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos around them. Maybe it's what saves us, Dan replied, his tone steady. Keeping it inside has only hurt us. We need to be honest, not just with Ethan, but with ourselves. We can't move forward until we let go of the weight of the past. Sarah inhaled sharply, tasting the courage infused in their exchange. Maybe Dan was right. Maybe facing this together meant forging a path toward a future, no matter how uncertain that future felt. She looked up at the scattered stars peeking through the clouds, allowing herself a moment of hope. Together, she whispered, sealing some untold promise within her. The vulnerability was terrifying, but the words stimulated a sense of strength that came from their unity. After a long moment of silence, Rachel broke through. Let us find Ethan, she said, pulling her phone out to check the time. I think he's at the games. We can do this. With hesitant breaths, they moved toward the noise, an artificial world filled with vibrant lights. Each step felt monumental, as if they were trudging through the thick mud of all their hidden fears. When they finally reached the game area, they spotted him immediately. Ethan was standing enthralled by the bright display of plush toys hanging in a booth. His eyes sparkled with desire as he tried to decide which one to choose. Ethan! Sarah called, her voice sounding foreign even to her own ears. Turning, her son's big blue eyes met hers, and a smile spread across his face like sunlight breaking through clouds. For a brief moment, her heart swelled with love and familiarity, but the resolve to reveal their truth quickly rushed back in. Can we talk for a minute, buddy? She asked, her voice trembling. What's wrong? He asked innocently, his smile faltering slightly. Confusion drew lines across his forehead, mirroring the fear submerged within her heart. Nothing is wrong, but we have something important to discuss. The words hung heavily in the air, and in that moment, Sarah couldn't tell if the fluttering in her stomach was excitement or dread. But deep down, a voice nagged at her, whispering that truth was the only way forward, from uncertainty to clarity, from isolation to unity. As she knelt beside him, the weight of what was to come loomed larger than ever. Would her son's innocence bend beneath the secrets laid bare, or would it become the key to the healing they all so desperately sought? Mom? Ethan's voice interrupted her thoughts, breaking through the haze. What is it? You're scaring me. Sarah's heart raced again, but this time, it wasn't just fear, it was the pulse of new beginnings. In that moment, everything shifted. Let us just sit for a moment. And as she prepared to share the weight of her past, the carnival lights shimmering behind them, she realized they were all standing on the brink of something pivotal. What began as a family secret now felt like a chance for rebirth, but how he would respond remained to be seen. With a deep breath, she was ready to unveil the truth. Was it enough to heal their family, this frail knot they had created together? Or would it unravel thread by thread? Facing her son, Sarah thought about how much the upcoming moment would change everything. The potential for hope lingered tantalizingly close. Would it transform their love, or mark the beginning of their breaking point? Ethan shifted his weight from foot to foot, his innocence shining through the concern etched on his young face. The sounds of laughter and carnival games faded as Sarah focused on him, the clarity of the moment sharpening her senses. He looked so small and trusting. Mom, did I do something wrong? No, sweetie, it's nothing like that, she rushed to reassure him, her heart aching at the thought of unintentionally causing him worry. I have something to tell you. Something important about me. Ethan tilted his head, curiosity mingling with confusion. Is it about the carnival? Is it about the games? No, it's about me, my past, she managed, each word feeling heavier than the last. She searched for the right way to frame her history, but how do you explain years of buried emotions to a child? Dan stepped forward, offering support. You know how sometimes people have things that they keep secret? Well, we believe it's time to share some of those things with you, Ethan. Because you deserve to know the truth. Ethan's brow furrowed deeper, the weight of their serious expressions sinking in. Are you guys okay? He asked, eyes darting between them, searching for signs of danger. Sarah felt her breath stutter. We're okay, Ethan. But it's important for us to be honest with each other, especially with you. Why wouldn't you tell me before? His voice was tender, yet strong, a child grappling with concepts meant for adults. Feeling a swell of emotion, Sarah placed her hand on his knee. Because she paused, gathering her thoughts like fragile threads. Because I was scared. Scared that it would change how you see me. Or change our family. Ethan's gaze flickered, the realization beginning to dawn. You mean like when you used to cry at night? Her heart squeezed painfully. He remembered those moments, even when she thought he was asleep. Yes, like that. It's part of what I want to explain. He looked down, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, wrestling with emotions a child should never have to carry. But I don't want you to be sad anymore, Mom. A tear slipped down her cheek, one she quickly brushed away. I know, sweetheart. And that's why being honest is so important. The weight of my past has affected our lives more than I realized. But I need you to know that it doesn't change how much I love you. Will it make you stop crying? He asked, sincerity wrapped in innocence. I hope it will help us all heal together, she replied, swallowing the lump in her throat, feeling the urgency in her words. I want a future where we can share everything, without fear, without secrets. Dan crouched down beside them, his gentle voice adding warmth to the moment. We're a team, Ethan. We've got each other's backs. If we share and figure things out together, we can take the next steps toward healing. Ethan took a deep breath, processing their words. He looked up at the colorful lights around them and back at Sarah, as though weighing his emotions against the vibrant illusion of the carnival. So you mean there's something bad that happened? Yes, something that happened before you were born, Sarah confirmed, wishing she could find the words that would ease his discomfort. But it doesn't define me. It's just a part of my story. But Mom, I want to know everything, even the bad stuff, Ethan said, his courage shining through. An overwhelming rush of love filled her chest, and for a moment, Sarah thought she might burst. She wanted to shield him from hurt, to save him from the weight of life's burdens, yet here he was willing to shoulder it with her. Okay then, she whispered, her heart steadying. Let us start from the beginning. As she began to share her past with him, an electric tension hung in the air, one that felt like a bridge spanning a chasm of distance. The shadows of her secrets began to unfold in the warm glow of shared honesty. Yet just as she was about to dive deeper, something in the distance caught her eye, a figure lurking at the edge of the fairgrounds, watching them intently. A chill crept up her spine, a dark cloud looming over their moment of vulnerability. Mom? Ethan asked, sensing her shift. What's wrong? With her heart racing, she glanced back at the figure, her mind churning with questions. Was it someone from her past? The looming presence threw a shadow over their fragile conversation. She needed to keep her family safe, but the truth was about to tangle with the past in ways she never expected. Would this complicate their fragile moment, or could it bring them closer together? Stay close, Ethan, she whispered. They were stepping into unknown territory, and she wasn't sure if it was only the past she had to face. The figure at the edge of the fairgrounds shifted, blending into the shadows of the vibrant lights and laughter swirling around them. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. She had worked so hard to build a safe life for Ethan, and now this unknown presence felt like a storm threatening to crash through their fragile peace. "Who is it, Mom?" Ethan's small voice pulled her back, his innocent eyes wide with worry. She felt a sudden urge to shield him, to protect that little heart from whatever darkness was creeping back into their lives. "I don't know, sweetie," she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. "But let's all just stick close together for now, okay?" Ethan nodded, yet the way he gripped her hand told her he sensed the tension in her otherwise calm demeanor. Sarah squeezed his hand back, drawing strength from his innocent trust. She focused again on their conversation. They were on the brink of something transformative. "Okay," she said, taking a deep breath to steady herself before launching into her story. "It all started a long time ago. When I was just a little older than you, I was in a really rough place." As she spoke, however, her mind kept flickering back to the figure, now moving closer through the crowd, casting long shadows against the carnival's bright colors. She pushed those thoughts away, forcing herself to concentrate on Ethan's face as she continued. His gaze encouraged her to spill the secrets she had locked away, even if they rattled her own foundations. "I had friends, but not always the right kind of friends. I got tangled up in some bad choices. Choices that hurt me and, ultimately, ones that I regret deeply," she explained, feeling raw vulnerability scar across her chest as she recounted her missteps. Ethan listened intently, his brow furrowing in thought. "Did you ever get in trouble, Mom? Like the kind of trouble you see on TV?" "Yes," she admitted, her voice softening. "But it's important to remember that those moments don't define who I am now. I learned from them. I've grown. Just like I hope you will learn from your mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" Ethan asked, leaning in as if she held the secrets of the universe. The air between them thickened with unspoken concerns. "Sometimes I made friends with people who were not good for me. They led me down paths I didn't want to go. It wasn't safe." Sarah's heart raced as she caught sight of that lurking figure again, clearer now, a face she thought she would never see again. Her breath hitched. This was the moment she had feared, the one she thought they had escaped. "Mom?" Ethan's voice pulled her back to the present again, concern now etched in his features. "Are you okay? You look scared." "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just remembering it was a long time ago," she stammered, but the truth was, she wasn't okay. The looming figure was like a ghost from her past, ready to disrupt the fragile web of trust she was weaving with her son. What if they had come to tear down their newfound connection? What if revealing her story illuminated vulnerabilities she wasn't ready to face? Before she could answer, the figure stepped into the light, their eyes locking onto hers. She felt her world shift. "Sarah. We need to talk." Ethan squeezed her hand tighter, and in that moment, her heart raced with worry for both of them. This was it. The past was rushing back to collide with her future, and she couldn't let it rip apart the family they had built. "Who is that?" Ethan asked, wide-eyed. Her mind raced, torn between sparing him from the truth and shielding them both from the storm brewing ahead. "Someone I hoped I'd never see again," Sarah whispered, her voice barely a breath. The carnival lights flickered, but in that moment, she understood it wasn't just the past she had to confront, it was how that past would become a part of their story now. As they took a step back, she realized that this confrontation wasn't just about her anymore. It was about them. Their healing, their love, and the fight for a life unmarred by shadows. But could she stand strong enough for both of them? With uncertainty hanging in the air, the moment of truth was creeping closer, and everything was about to change. Would the secrets of her past tear them apart, or unite them in ways she could never have imagined? "Sarah." The voice sliced through the noise of the carnival, the laughter, the music, the clinking of games all fading into a dull roar. The tension in the air was palpable, and Sarah could feel the cold grip of fear clenching her throat. "Who is it, Mom?" Ethan's small hand was trembling in hers, his eyes darting between her and the imposing figure stepping closer. "It's nobody," she said quickly, but the quiver in her voice betrayed her. She couldn't shake the memories flooding back, those nights spent trying to escape, the lies she told to get away from the chaos. But there he was. The man she thought she had left behind. The one who had promised change but only delivered chaos. "Sarah, please. We need to talk." His voice softened slightly, but it still held that menacing edge. No, she shook her head instinctively, desperate for him to disappear like a fading ghost. But the reality was stark. The shadows of her past were here, and they wouldn't go quietly. "Mom, who is he?" Ethan's voice trembled, pulling Sarah back from the brink of panic. She knelt down to his level, forcing a calm smile, though her heart raced. "It's someone from my past, and he doesn't belong here. I promise you, everything's going to be okay." But as she spoke those words, she felt the weight of her own doubt. "Why don't you come say hi?" The figure taunted, a cruel smile spreading across his face. An icy rush coursed through Sarah as she tightened her hold on Ethan's hand. "Stay close to me, Ethan," she whispered, realizing that this wasn't just a moment of confrontation. This was the test of her strength and the fragile trust she had built with her son. "Are you really going to let him talk to you?" Ethan queried, his innocence a painful reminder of how much was at stake. "No, I will not," Sarah asserted, standing tall. She could see Ethan studying her, searching for assurance amidst the chaos. She had to be strong, not just for herself but for him. "Sarah, you can't just ignore me." The figure stepped into the light fully, dark eyes glinting. "I've missed you. We have unfinished business." Her chest tightened. Unfinished business, a phrase that echoed with all the bad memories she had tried to bury. Just seeing him made her heart pound like a drum. But she couldn't let it show. Not now, not in front of Ethan. "Business? Is that what you call the mess you left behind?" She shot back, her voice trembling but defiant. He chuckled, a sickening sound. "You still think you can escape me? I know your secrets, Sarah. I always have." Ethan pressed against her, sensing the shift in the air like a storm rolling in. "Mom, I'm scared." She wrapped her arms around him, grounding both of them. Her heartbeat felt unsteady, but looking into Ethan's young eyes ignited a spark of determination. "I'm right here," she whispered, squeezing him tighter. "Look, Sarah," the figure continued, frustration creeping into his voice. "If you don't talk to me now, I'll make sure you regret it." Her mind ran through every possibility. Could she really keep Ethan safe? Would confronting this man stop him from coming back? She needed to act. "Leave us alone," she found herself saying, the words firming her resolve. "You don't have any power over me anymore." He laughed, a twisted sound that made her skin crawl. "Do you think it's that easy?" "I'll be watching, Sarah. Always." With that, he turned on his heel and melted back into the crowd, leaving Sarah trembling. "Mom," Ethan's voice was a whisper. "What was that about? Who was he? What did he want?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah knelt down again, pulling him close. "He was someone who hurt me a long time ago. I thought I had escaped him, but I guess some things don't go away easily." "But you faced him, Mom," Ethan said, his small face brightening just a little. "You were brave." Sarah smiled, though her heart still raced. "We'll get through this together, Ethan. No one will hurt us again." But as her words hung in the air, a question lingered in her mind. Had she truly escaped? And what would the cost of this confrontation be? They turned to leave the fairgrounds, but just like that, new weight settled between them, a heavy question of what lay ahead. As the lights of the carnival faded in the distance, the shadows of the past whispered around them, and Sarah knew this was only the beginning. What did her past still hold? What else had she buried that could come crashing back? "Sarah, we need to move forward. Together." Dan's voice cut through the night like a beacon of hope, pulling her back into the moment. As she glanced over at him, she could see the storm of emotion swirling in his eyes. The chaos of the fair faded into the background, and the weight of their conversation settled like a heavy blanket between them. "Together," she echoed, letting the word resonate within her. She looked down at Ethan, who still stood so close, the innocence and bravery in his eyes reminding her why she needed to face her past. Her heart leapt. "Ethan, do you remember when we talked about being brave?" He nodded, a serious expression on his face. "Well, sometimes being brave means facing things that scare us. And I need you to know something important about that man." "But he looked scary, Mom." "You looked scared," Ethan blurted, his voice trembling slightly. "I was scared," she admitted, swallowing the lump in her throat. "But that means I have to be even braver now, for you and for us." Ethan's eyes softened. "You are brave, Mom." "You told him no." The corners of her mouth lifted, and she felt a rush of warmth in response to his innocent faith in her. "You know what, buddy? You're right." "But what now?" he asked, glancing back toward the fading lights of the fair, the laughter now just distant echoes. "Now, we're going to start over. No more secrets. No more lies," Sarah said firmly. "This is our chance to build something new together." Dan nodded, solidarity glinting in his eyes. "We'll make things right, Sarah. Your past doesn't define your future. We've come too far to let it dictate who we are as a family." Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes as she processed his words, the weight of everything they had endured finally finding a shimmer of relief. "So we work together, right?" "Absolutely," Dan confirmed, stepping closer. "We're in this together. It won't be easy, but we can tackle anything as one." Feeling the strength of his hand enveloping hers, Sarah's heart surged with a feeling she thought was lost to fierce love. "Do you think we can tell Ethan more about everything?" Dan gently asked, kneeling down beside their son. "About the things that happened in the past and why it's important for us to be honest?" Ethan blinked, taking in their seriousness. "Like, the bad stuff?" "Yes," Sarah replied softly, folding her arms around him. "But remember, it's part of who I used to be, not who I am now or who you will ever have to be." Ethan nodded, pupils wide and shining, full of trust. "Okay. I can be brave. Tell me." "All right," Sarah murmured, taking a deep breath. "It all starts when I was a bit older than you." She leaned in as the evening continued to unfold, her story spilling forth like a stream finding its way after being blocked for too long. Hearts opened, love wrapped around their fears, and as she shared her past including the turmoil and struggle with that old figure she saw both Dan and Ethan absorb every word, their resolve growing stronger. The flicker of the fairground lights dimmed as night deepened, but a new illuminating courage began to take root in their little circle. After she finished, the silence that followed felt lighter. "So, that's why the man from before is gone now," Sarah concluded, holding her breath, half expecting disappointment or resentment. But instead, Ethan smiled gently. "You faced him, Mom. That was brave." "And I'll always be brave for you," she replied, emotion welling up inside her, the bond between them tight like a bow. "And for all of us." Dan's gaze locked onto hers, an understanding passing between them. The past didn't need to define their future, it could guide them, teach them without shackling their hearts to hurt. "Can we keep talking about it? About everything?" Ethan asked, breaking the stillness. "Of course," Sarah smiled, feeling the burden of years begin to lift. "We'll always talk. We'll be open, no matter how difficult things get." Together, they strolled toward the parking lot, the fair behind them fading into a beautiful memory, a collage of laughter mixed with hope. The secrets they once held were replaced with honesty and strength, the foundation of something brand new and unbreakable unity. As they reached the car, Sarah turned, glancing back at the lights of the fairground. A new path lay before them, and for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. "Okay, family," Dan said with a radiant smile, "let us make some new memories." The three of them piled into the car, laughter ringing in the air, a vow of renewal interwoven with hopeful anticipation for the journey ahead. Love would guide them through the storm, hand in hand, into the light. Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude as she leaned back in her seat, eyes wide open to an exciting future, and she knew they were ready for whatever came next. They were a family, rising like a phoenix, and nothing could dim the luminosity of their love, not even darkness. This was their moment, their time to embrace everything that was truly possible. And the echoes of joy from the fair faded into a memory, replaced by the promise of tomorrow. Now, as this compelling chapter comes to a close, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and give us the boost to continue bringing you heartfelt transformations. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this thrilling ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let's spread the love. Your support makes all the difference, and together, we can create a community of hope and healing.